for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's hour 2, Toker Talk Radio, and the phone lines are open. You can call me at 971-533-7111. Comments, questions, suggestions, rants, arguments, shameless self-promotion. We welcome it all. Feel free to call in, especially if you disagree with me. I think sometimes people get afraid to call in because I make these passionate arguments and I get emotional and I have a lot of research behind me. And they worry that I'm going to attack them or call them stupid or something. I'm not going to do anything like that. In fact, I love finding people that disagree with me because it's fascinating to me. Right? Because I'm in my head and I see what I see and I know what I know and I think what I think. And I come to conclusions that from my point of view are absolutely perfect, or at least as good as I can come up with, right? So when someone comes up with a contrary point of view, it fascinates me. It's like, well, how did you come to that? What's your reasoning behind that? What's your perspective that led you to be wrong? I say that tongue in cheek, right? Because maybe you're not wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But the only way I'm going to know is if someone challenges me, is if someone confronts me and presents an alternate point of view. And I'm not immune to reason. Like, I'll take a contrary point of view and I'll reason through it and I'll go, sometimes it'll change my mind. You'd be surprised. But one thing that's really hard to change my mind on is marijuana legalization. It's hard for me to be convinced that legalizing marijuana will be worse than the situation that currently exists. But it gets to be a more and more nuanced argument as we get through these states. And it becomes most nuanced for the state of California. Because California already has legalization light, right? It already has the most expansive medical marijuana that exists. Now, it's gotten recently ratcheted down a bit with some laws that have been passed, finally, to come up with some statewide regulation over medical marijuana in California. But if I was going to be totally selfish, right? If I was going to be totally selfish and look at this, like, I'm transplanted to California, what do? Well, I come up with $40 or $60. I go to some doc in a box and I get a medical marijuana recommendation, and then I go shop at dispensaries, and I pretty much lead a nice little stony lifestyle and never get hassled for weed again. So that's the current reality for a lot of people in California. It might be more difficult to convince them to support legalization that doesn't go much further than what they already have. especially if they perceive the legalization to actually be walking back some of the freedoms they currently exist. I mean, that was part of the problem with I-502 in Washington State. Washington State had the second most free and open medical marijuana that was going on. The second most Wild West unregulated medical marijuana. And for a lot of people's perspective out there, legalization actually restricted them more than what they had before. They can make legit arguments on that. I still think legalization is better, but I understand their arguments. I understand their point of view. So as we move forward with California, we're going to have to talk to a lot of people who already think marijuana is legal in California, and why rock the boat and why set up more restrictions and regulations, no matter who they come from. Now, the Sean Parker one is the one that we're looking at today. I'll be getting into the Reform California one this week. I'll also look at the Marijuana Control Legalization Revenue, whatever the hell MCLR stands for. I'll even go through the Jack Herer initiative. I'll go through them all. But one of the problems that there's this balancing act of, what do we think about it? But what does the rest of California, the voters, think about it? When we look at something like only legalizing 4 grams of concentrate, we might see that as overly restrictive. Another point of view might be no grams of concentrate are technically legal unless you're a medical marijuana patient. So legalizing 4 is a step forward. There's people that are going to have a problem with there being an open container law when no such thing exists right now. People are just going to, there's some people that are going to see legalization in any form, no matter how it's proposed, as being more restrictive than what they've got now. And then you make something that they like the Jack Herer initiative, and the rest of society is going to look at that as going too far and want to reject that. So there's this tightrope that we have to walk.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while. Share.
The son of a Polish immigrant who grew up in a Brooklyn tenement, he went to public schools, then college, where the work of his life began, fighting injustice and inequality, speaking truth to power. He moved to Vermont, won election and praise as one of America's best mayors. In Congress, he stood up for working families and for principle, opposing the Iraq War, supporting veterans. Now he's taking on Wall Street and a corrupt political system, funded by over 1 million contributions, tackling climate change to create clean energy jobs, fighting for living wages, equal pay, and tuition-free public colleges.
People are sick and tired of establishment politics, and they want real change.
Bernie Sanders, husband, father, grandfather, an honest leader, building a movement with you to give us a future to believe in.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 11 and a half after the hour. And as we mentioned earlier, we are digging deep into the Sean Parker initiative. This is the Adult Use of Marijuana Act that has been proposed by the billionaire who is now getting a lot of support from people in drug law reform who are really looking forward to ending a prohibition in California, and of course, opening up that huge market. That's what a lot of people are looking at. So we've been going through what I've written up as the hyperlinked text of the California Adult Use of Marijuana Act. You can find the highlights of it on marijuanapolitics.com as my article for today. So we'd left off, we were sitting around section 26035, peace officer powers. And one of the things we find is that the agents of the Department of Consumer Affairs are peace officers under the law. And as peace officers, along with other peace officers, can visit and inspect the premises of any licensee at any time during which the licensee is exercising the privileges authorized by his or her license on the premises. So, that to me reads, if you're a licensed grower and you've got plants growing, the cops or the Department of Consumer Affairs can come inspect it at any time. Because plants grow 24 hours a day. And your privilege to grow those plants is exercising that privileges. And if you're exercising those privileges, they can visit you. I can imagine a lot of people will have a problem with this part of the law. Also, the growing of marijuana, unlicensed commercial marijuana activity can be fined civil penalties up to 3 times the amount of the license fee. And these penalties, these 3 times the license fee penalties, can be collected by the cities or counties that press the charges. Basically, it says, if an action is brought by a district attorney or county council, the penalty collected shall be paid to the treasurer of the county in which the judgment was entered. If it was brought by a city attorney or city prosecutor, the penalty collected shall be paid to the treasurer of the city where the judgment was entered. So this law here has established, this Sean Parker initiative, makes it profitable for cities and counties to go after unlicensed commercial marijuana growers. Very interesting there. There will be a marijuana control appeals panel. It'll be 3 salaried members appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. They'll handle any of the appeals on these commercial actions. Now, for the licensing, big important part here, the licensing. There will be 11 types of licenses. 1 through 12, skipping number 9. There is no license type 9. I think they left that open for the future. Maybe a nonprofit license. But anyway, there's 5 grower licenses and 6 commercial licenses. So here's how it works. There'll be type 1 through 5 based on size for growing. Type 1 is a small specialty grow. Type 2, a small grow. Type 3, a medium grow. Type 4, a nursery. And type 5, a large grow. Now these types, 1 through 4, match up with the types that were created in the new medical marijuana legislation in California. So very similar. And this legislation adds a type 5 for the larger size commercial grows. So the size is less than 5,000 square foot for a type 1, 5 to 10,000 square foot for a type 2, 10,000 to 22,000 square foot for a type 3, and over 22,000 square foot for a type 5. Nurseries don't have sizes associated with them. And the types can be the standard outdoor, or they can be type A, indoor, or type B, mixed light. So when we're talking about the medium and large, the type 3 and type 5, if they're outdoor, medium is limited up to 1 acre. Large is over 1 acre. But if they're indoor or mixed light, it's more or less than 22,000 square feet. Okay, so the outdoor grows do get to be the size of 1 acre as a type 3, or larger than 1 acre in a type 5. Then, as far as the other 6 licenses go, there's going to be 2 types of manufacturer license, type 6 and type 7. And the type 6 are people manufacturing with non-volatile solvents. So this would include, making cookies and brownies and so forth, and ice water hashes and that kind of stuff. Whereas the type 7 will be working with volatile solvents. So those are your BHO, your PHO, your supercritical CO2, that kind of stuff. Then type 8 will be testers, a testing license. Type 10, they skipped type 9. Type 10 is a retailer, a pot shop. Type 11 is a distributor. And type 12 is an interesting one called a micro business. We'll get to a micro business here in a second. Also, these licenses have to be designated as non-medical because there's also type 1 medical growers out there, right? Type 1, type 2 medical, and so forth. Your licenses are good for a year. They can be denied due to monopoly concerns, excessive concentration of licenses, exposure to minors, or environmental risks. And when we talk about excessive concentration of licenses, it has to mean a place with 20% greater crime and more licenses than allowed by local ordinance. Whatever the local ordinance says is allowed. There can be no restraint of trade or price fixing or price discrimination. And other than testers, you can have as many licenses as you like. Now, a tester can only be a tester, which makes sense. You don't want to have a tester testing their own grow, right? But for all the others, you can have as many licenses as you like. You could have multiple grow licenses, multiple retailer, multiple processor, or manufacturer, I should say. So in California, they'll be able to be vertically integrated if they want to be. They don't have to be, but if they want to be, they can vertically integrate. So that's kind of cool. Licensees can't also sell alcohol or tobacco, and they have to be at least 600 feet away from a school. Licensees have to be California residents. They have to have their California residency as of January 1st, 2015. But on January 1st, 2020, there will be no residency requirement. So for the next 4 years, you have to prove that you're a California resident. And the licenses, the priority in licensing will go to existing medical marijuana operators. So existing medical grows, existing medical dispensaries, and so forth get priority if they want to get these new recreational licenses. There can be commercial bans on licenses. And until 2019, those bans will be in effect until an election can be held. So some of these places that are already banning will be able to continue to ban until an election can be held, and that election won't be able to be held until 2019. And a business licensee, if I remember this correctly, I don't find it. Okay, we'll have to find that. I think there is one as far as pot lounges go, though.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
That's right, pot lounges. That comes up a little later in the act. We'll talk about that and all the rest of the Sean Parker Initiative when we come back. But right now, it's 4:20, and that means we have a very important break we have to take for safety purposes. When we come back, Bacon Dan will be on the line with our Roots Monday Daily Toker Tune. Imagine life without taxes. Let New Era Certified Public Accountants, NewEraCPAs.com, handle your cannabis 280E and tax strategy. Get your business prepared with New Era CPA's Cannabis Finance Bootcamp. NewEraCPAs.com, with years of experience in the industry, we are one of the nation's leading accounting firms for growers, dispensaries, and ancillary companies from Washington to California. NewEraCPAs.com. The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Dr. Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Roots Monday, featuring the blues, country, folk, and jazz music that birthed the modern sounds we enjoy today. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Time for our Daily Toker Tunes. Joining us here by telephone, we've got Mr. Portland himself, Bacon Dan's on the line. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great, and I am coming to you live from beautiful Grastoria, Oregon right now.
Oh, Grastoria. I love Grastoria, Oregon. Visiting Cannabis Carry by any chance?
No, she's actually down in San Diego right now. I'm out here doing some brewery tours with one of my coworkers, so I'm standing at the Bowie Beer Company right on the bay, and it is awesome. This is my first time ever to the coast and first time to Astoria.
Really?
And it is gorgeous.
It's taken us this long to get you out to Astoria?
I know, it's ridiculous.
Well, we'll do more of that coming up for damn sure. And of course, the other great news we've got is the Portland Timbers making it to the MLS Cup Finals.
Oh my God! And I was at the game when we were in Portland, and it was gorgeous. Like I was on section 93, front row. They scored like right in front of me. I'm so very proud of my Timbers, and I'm really happy we're going against Columbus because they are another kind of underdog team. They got a really good fan base. It's going to be a hell of a final.
So how does this work? Do they play multiple games or?
Just one game, and it is in Columbus on the 6th, and it's going to be a rockin' time. This is Portland's first trip to the finals, and I think we've got a team who can really do it, especially getting Nat Borchers and that badass beard of his to come over from Salt Lake City. He's been one of the best additions we could have ever had to the team. So I think we might have a championship coming home to Rip City, man.
Well, that would be great. But how did the semifinals work then? Because didn't we do a 2-2 tie with Dallas?
Correct, but because it was based off of points, so even though it's a 2-2 tie, we technically won the series 5-3.
But there's no series for the finals.
Correct. It's just one old game.
Wow. So that's weird. They do series for every other level except for the final game?
Yeah, it is pretty weird.
It is pretty weird. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm hoping that we win that game and we have a major league champion here in Portland for the first time since 1977 and the Portland Trailblazers. That would be pretty cool. All right.
Yeah, because I don't think the Blazers are going to be bringing any championships home too. So.
Not anytime soon. All right, let's take a look at our tune for today. Very popular artist. Tell folks about it.
All right, so we have the one and only Tom Waits tonight from his 2011 album. The song's called Hell Broke Loose. It's actually an anti-war song. As some people might know, I was briefly in the military for about 4 months before I was kicked out. And I'm kind of a very anti-war guy in general, so I heard this song. It was recommended to me by someone actually on Twitter and who was following me. And they're like, I think you might like this song. And it's just it's a traditional Tom Waits song. His voice is like exactly how you'd expect. The timing's very different, so that's what I really like about it. And it's a hell of a song. I think everyone's really going to dig it.
All right, so we'll get into some Tom Waits, Hell Broke Loose, and then, of course, later tonight you're doing the karaoke from Hell, and you're at your regular time this weekend, tonight?
Yes, we have a full set tonight, so it'll be starting at 10 o'clock and going right to 2 a.m.
All right, see you there. This is Tom Waits with Hell Broke Loose for your Roots Monday Daily Toker Tunes.
I had a good deaf. A Humvee mechanic put his Kevlar on wrong. I guarantee you'll meet up with the suicide bomb. Hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. Big fucking ditches in the middle of the road. You pay $100 just for filling in the hole. Listen to the general every goddamn word. How many ways can you polish up a turd? And left, right, left, right, left, right. Hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. How is it that the only ones responsible for making this mess got the sorry asses stapled to a goddamn desk? And hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. Left, right, left. What did you do before the war? I was a chef. And what was your name? It was Jeff. I lost my buddy and I wept. I come down from the meth, so I slept. I had a good home, but I left. Pants to the wind for a joke. I pranced right in with the dope. Glanced at her shin, she said nope. Left, right, left. Nimrod, bodfish, have you any wool? Get me another body bag, the body bag's full. And my face was scorched. I miss my home, I miss my porch. Left, right, left. Can I go home in March? My stance was a chin full of soap. That rancid dinner with the Pope. And left, right, left. Cali Priscilla got his thumbs blown off. Sergio's developing a real bad cough. And hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. Hell broke loose. Boom went his head away and boom went Valerie. What the hell was it that the president said? Give them all a beautiful parade instead. And left, right, left. While I was over here, I never got to vote. I left my arm in my coat. My mom, she died and never wrote. We sat by the fire and ate a coat. Just before he died, he had a toke. Now I'm home, and I'm blind, and I'm broke. What is next?
Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz. At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of The Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
You're listening to 420 Radio. Listen Saturdays at 1 p.m. Pacific for Weed Nerd, podcasting at YouTube. One of the internet's most popular grow shows is on 420 Radio. Pick up grow tips from the master behind multiple award-winning strains from Team Green Avenger. Check our online listings for Weed Nerd with Subcool from YouTube.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
Welcome back, everyone. 32 after the hour here at Rolla J Studios, where it's cold. Oh my God, it's cold in the studio. It's cold outside here in Portland, like 30s, 40s kind of cold. But here in the studio, the AA batteries that run the thermostat, they died. So if the thermostat doesn't run, the furnace doesn't run. And if the furnace doesn't run, the studio gets down to 64. That's what it says on the old thermometer right now. So nose is cold, fingers are cold. But we're glad you're here. You warm my heart, dear listener. Without you, I am nothing. Thanks for being here. And I know things are difficult. We're moving over to cannabisradio.com, and they're still putting stuff together, and we still need to get RSS feeds and iTunes and all that. And stick with us. Hang tough. We'll get through this together. I think December will be a month of transitions in more ways than one. We'll get this all figured out as best we can. But one thing you can bank on is that legalization is happening in America. And it's happening likely in 5 states for 2016, maybe 6, maybe 8. We know for sure it's happening in Nevada. They've got it on the ballot already. It's likely to get on the ballot in Arizona. It's looking likely to get on the ballot in Maine. I think there's a good chance it gets on the ballot in Massachusetts, and there's plenty of opportunities to get on the ballot in California. So there's 5. Then Ohio might surprise us all and come back on the ballot for 2016. Ian James at the International Drug Reform Conference I just attended said he's going to come back with the most free market marijuana anybody's ever seen for Ohio for 2016. Then we've got Florida fighting again for medical marijuana. Now they need 60% on their amendment. I think they can get it the second time around. And don't count out Missouri. Show Me Cannabis and the folks down there in Missouri, I think, are going to move forward with a medical marijuana amendment or initiative. And I think that could go places. So we could have votes possibly in 8 states for the 2016 election. CannabisRadio.com will bring you Marijuana Election Night 2016. Believe you me, we will have live coverage from all those states. And we'll let you know the first thing when they know when their state becomes legal. And part of what we're going to do leading up to that is taking a look at all these different initiatives that are circulating to legalize marijuana. And I've got the latest one here. This is the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, the Sean Parker initiative. It'll legalize an ounce of possession, 4 grams of concentrate, 6 plants per household, and possession of all the harvest at the house. It'll create a system of pot shops. There's going to be 5 different grow licenses and 6 different commercial licenses. Localities can ban licensees up until 2019. In 2019, there will have to be an election of the people to maintain the ban. Now, some other stuff in these initiatives, in this initiative, we covered a lot of it already, but want to get to this part on the cultivation because there's an interesting aspect to this. First of all, as we mentioned earlier, outdoor cultivation, type 1 license, less than 50,000 or less than 5,000 square feet, type 2, less than 10,000 square feet, type 3, less than an acre, type 5, more than an acre. And then a type 4 is a nursery, and it has the power to transport live plants. So nurseries can transport plants, but apparently these grows cannot. And there's there's like regular licenses, which are outdoor licenses. Then there's A licenses, which are indoor, and then there's B licenses, which are mixed light. And the A and Bs are 5,000, 10,000, up to 22,000, and then over 22,000 square feet. There will be an organic designation for marijuana and marijuana products, and regional appellation. If you don't know what appellation means, that's like, when you make champagne, you can only make champagne in Champagne, France. It's the only place where it's allowed, right? It's not really champagne if you get it from anywhere else, right? So that kind of appellation is something that the growers in Northern California have been fighting for. They want to make sure that if something's called Humboldt or Mendocino or Emerald Triangle, that it has to have been grown there. It has to actually be that. So you can't use the words Humboldt, Trinity, Mendocino, Emerald Triangle. You can't use those unless it was actually grown there. So that's going to protect a lot of those Northern California farmers, as well as two different license types that are going to protect them. They've got this type 1 license, which is a small specialty grow, less than 5,000 square feet or up to 50 mature plants. So that's your small family farmer, right? And it's got another designation called micro business. The type 12 license is a micro business license, where someone can be their own grower, own processor, and own seller. So with micro businesses in the mix, I think there's all sorts of protection for the small farmer. Now, all commercial cannabis in this Sean Parker initiative gets a unique identifier. We're talking like a zip tie program like Mendocino County tried to do, but on a statewide basis, with a unique ID for every commercial plant. Now, that's not required of the home grows. It's not required of the medical grows. But all the commercial grows are going to get a unique ID. And the micro businesses and the nonprofits will not be subject to that requirement either. They won't have to worry about getting, we're just talking about the big commercial grows are going to have seed to sale tracking on all of their plants. Just going to be. And the micro businesses can be less than 10,000 square feet cultivation. So they're like up to a type 2 license. And they can act as a licensed distributor, level 1 manufacturer, and retailer. Level 1 manufacturer is the non-volatile solvent manufacturing type 6 license, right? So this is going to, like I said, going to help the small farmers. I think it's been specifically put together for that. There's going to be a feasibility study for nonprofits. And I think that's where that type 9, why they skipped a 9, is that they'll eventually have a nonprofit license as a type 9. And nonprofits, maybe they're cultivating cannabis for vets or whatever, right? So they're going to do a feasibility study on this. And in the meantime, localities can issue temporary licenses for these nonprofits. Of course, no exporting marijuana out of state. And a specific protection for transportation within the state, that a locality cannot mess with that. Like Lake County can't say you can transport no marijuana through Lake County. No, that's not going to fly. They can ban deliveries to Lake County or Fresno County or whatever county, right? So they might prevent a delivery service from delivering marijuana to you there, but they can't prohibit a delivery service from driving through there. More of the review here of the Sean Parker Adult Use of Marijuana Act. Again, the two different types of manufacturers are those using non-volatile solvents, type 6, and type 7s are the ones that are using volatile solvents. There'll be rules for product testing that must include THC, THCA, CBD, CBDA, CBG, CBN, and terpenes. Contaminant testing for solvents, foreign material, microbes, mold, and fungus. And the volatile solvent manufacturers must contain their residual gases. They must mitigate the possibilities of explosion, since that's what we all fear. Packaging and labeling must be unattractive to kids, must be child resistant, must have bold government warnings. And the government warning on California cannabis would read, "This package contains marijuana, a Schedule 1 controlled substance. Keep out of reach of children and animals. Marijuana may only be possessed or consumed by persons 21 years of age or older, unless the person is a qualified patient. Consumption of marijuana impairs your ability to drive and operate machinery. Please use extreme caution." The government warning for marijuana products is somewhat similar. The intoxicating effects of marijuana products may be delayed up to 2 hours. Consumption of marijuana products impairs your ability to drive and operate machinery. Please use extreme caution. And then they got to list the THC, the CBD. They got to list ingredients, manufacturer, the source and the date of cultivation, the weight, pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, solvents. If there were any allergens used, nuts or other allergens used in the production. They're going to go with the Colorado limit of 10 milligrams of THC per serving on your edible products, and cannot resemble commercially sold products. No Butterfinger bars, no Keef Cats, right? You can't mimic existing brands. Medical marijuana card holders who are 18 or older can go into the recreational pot shops. Child medical patients will not be able to. Marijuana advertising can only be done on mediums where at least 71.6% of the audience is expected to be 21. That's interesting how you figure that out through ratings and such. Can't use appellations, and no billboards on interstate highways or state highways that cross the border of any state. So pretty much no billboards. The advertising can't appeal to minors or be within 1,000 feet of places kids play. Licensees cannot do marijuana giveaways, no freebies, and you cannot make scientifically unverifiable health claims about marijuana. And the Bureau of Marijuana Control can inspect your books during regular business hours upon threat of a $30,000 fine if you refuse. Localities can restrict time, place, and manner, but complete license bans have to be approved by the voters. And localities may allow for on-site consumption. That is, there could be, if a city allows it, vapor lounges, cannabis cafes, pot bars, whatever you want to call them in California. The government will study the effect of secondhand pot smoke in those lounges, should they exist. The taxes will be 15% excise tax. 15% excise tax for marijuana starting in 2018, although medical marijuana won't have to pay the excise tax. And there will be a harvest tax, a cultivation tax, starting in 2018. Harvest tax, $9.25 an ounce on flower and $2.75 per ounce on leaves. Now, I wonder if they'll come to the same conclusion we did in Oregon, that taxing by weight was problematic, in that as the commercial price falls, the tax remains constant and becomes a greater price burden for the grower. We shall see. So those and it appears to me that medical would also have to pay that harvest tax. The way it appears written to me is that medical marijuana is not exempt from the harvest tax. And as we wind things up, remember, coming up at the top of the hour, Stoner Jesus is joining us here on CannabisRadio.com. So he'll be coming up next. We'll get off the air here in about 5 minutes so he can get on. As far as where the tax revenue goes in California, $10 million. First of all, they're going to pay the costs of all of the administration, not to exceed 4% of all the tax revenue. So up to the first 4% goes right back to the state regulatory agencies. Then $10 million goes to public universities. $3 million goes to the California Highway Patrol, CHIPS. $10 million increasing to $50 million each fiscal year to Business and Economic Development Fund, That means I think it starts 10 million the first year, 20 million the second, 30 million the third, and so on. $2 million to the University of California, San Diego for their medical marijuana research program. And then whatever's left over after that 25 million plus whatever the costs are, whatever's left over, 60% of that goes to youth drug education and prevention. 20% goes to environmental protection, and 20% goes to law enforcement. So, I can already hear the complaints from people who will say, we're giving money to law enforcement. The people that busted us are going to get money from our legality. So the rest of this Adult Use of Marijuana Act sets some of the fines for possession if you're under the age of 18, drug education and community service, $100 fines, and so forth. And let's see, I think, there we go. Multiple grow offenses over 6 plants may be punished with 16 months to 3 years imprisonment. So you can't keep overgrowing. That adds a new fine there. And plenty of other unlawful gifts, unlawful transportation. There's a whole section on industrial hemp that makes it so that the smallest industrial hemp plot can be 1/10 of an acre, and that increases the size there in the state of California. So that should make it easier for some of the hemp cultivators.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for this.
Sorry, folks. Didn't know why that popped up, but we're supposed to be closing. Let's try that again. There we go. Ha! Crazy stuff happening. It's a Monday, so what did you expect? Join us tomorrow. We'll have more news and views you can use for the cannabis community here on the Russ Belville Show. Our guest will be Michael Sindrich from the Gridiron Cannabis Coalition, the group of former NFL stars, including Kyle Turley, Ricky Williams, and others, who are fighting to get the NFL to recognize medical marijuana and how it can help the players who suffer from the deadly effects of concussions. That's coming up on tomorrow's show. Michael Sindrich from Gridiron Cannabis Coalition. For everyone here at Rolla J Studios and CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
The Nevada State Athletic Commission has suspended mixed martial arts fighter Nick Diaz for 5 years, a term the commissioner admitted was essentially a lifetime ban, given Diaz's age of 32 years and the short careers in the brutal sport. Diaz, an admitted marijuana user with a medical use recommendation from a California doctor, tested positive in one of 3 urine screenings administered for his fight in the UFC 183 event against Anderson Silva, who tested positive for anabolic steroids in his urine screenings. Silva was suspended for 1 year by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for the use of the dangerous performance-enhancing drug, 1/5 the punishment the commission just handed Diaz for the use of non-toxic munchie-enhancing drugs. The positive marijuana metabolite test was the 3rd failure for Diaz in Nevada. In 2007, Diaz was suspended for 6 months, and in 2012, he was suspended for 1 year. Nevada State Athletic Commission Chairman Francisco Aguilar alluded to the third strike nature of Diaz's recent test, saying, quote, "This is not just a marijuana issue. This is an issue of marijuana, a lack of being forthright, a lack of cooperation to make the sport better, a disregard for rules. It hurts other athletes just as much," end quote. Apparently not if they take steroids, though. The conditions surrounding the failed test are strange. Before and after the UFC 183 fight, samples from Diaz were tested by the Sports Medicine Research and Testing Laboratory. This lab found Diaz to be below the 150 nanograms per milliliter carboxy-THC limit established by the World Anti-Doping Agency, a limit that was adopted 2 years ago by the Nevada State Athletic Commission to match Olympic standards and to catch only those competitors who have recently consumed marijuana. The Sports Medicine Research and Testing Laboratory is accredited by the World Anti-Doping Agency and is located in Salt Lake City. And let's be clear, the 150 nanogram per milliliter carboxy-THC limit is inactive metabolites in urine. It should not be confused with the 5 nanograms per milliliter active THC in blood that is the limit for impaired driving in Washington and Colorado. 2 different types of measurements here. So Diaz passed the 2 tests issued by Sports Medicine Research and Testing Laboratory, but a third test that was conducted between the pre- and post-fight tests by the other lab, this third test was administered by Quest Diagnostics. They are the nation's leading workplace drug testing corporation. That's the test Diaz failed, which his lawyers find quite suspicious. According to ESPN, a box titled "Observed" was left unmarked by the collector, which means Diaz might have provided the sample unsupervised. He also pointed out Diaz's name appeared on the sample. The labs are not supposed to be able to identify to whom the samples belong. Furthermore, the lawyers for Diaz argued the failed test was such an outlier when compared with the other 2 that it had to be unreliable. According to the Quest test, Diaz registered a marijuana metabolites level nearly 5 times the allowable limit, but in the Sports Medicine Research and Testing Lab tests, his levels were well below the allowable threshold. That's the end of ESPN's quote, but somehow, before the fight, Diaz tests below 150. Then for Quest, he tests almost 750. Then he gets into a fight. And then after the fight, he tests well below 150. Now, there's some confusion as to what the actual level was. Another source, MMA Junkie, reports that the second test was, quote, in excess of 300 nanograms per milliliter, or double the Nevada State Athletic Commission's allowed amount of 150 nanograms per milliliter, end quote. Either way, whether it was as high as 750 or in excess of 300, it's more than 100% greater than the other 2 tests showed. Diaz also reportedly was having trouble submitting a clean specimen in the process of getting licensed for the fight. Diaz's manager, Lloyd Pearson, allegedly inquired about a therapeutic use exemption, a waiver sometimes given for medical use of certain pharmaceuticals that will trigger a positive urine screen result for banned substances. But he wanted the therapeutic use exemption for the medical use of marijuana. The athletic commissions have been reticent to offer such exemptions for medical marijuana, even in states like Nevada where it's legal. And the commissioners often cite the illegality of marijuana under federal law. So the Nevada State Athletic Commission voted unanimously to end Nick Diaz's UFC Nevada career, not just UFC, any fight game in Nevada, to end his fighting career in Nevada over medical marijuana. Now, to add insult to injury, Nevada State Athletic Commissioner Anthony Marnell III is a 71% owner in a limited liability corporation that is applying to own and operate a medical marijuana dispensary in Las Vegas's Clark County. So apparently, it is forbidden for fighters in Nevada to benefit medically from marijuana, but the commissioners who ban fighters for medical marijuana can benefit financially from it and give 1/5 the punishment to someone who's using steroids.
Don't you blaspheme in here. Don't you blaspheme in here.
People ask, gee, Russ, it's legal. Now what does NORML have to fight for? This! Here's a man who's losing his entire career in a state because marijuana is still prohibited. Even in states like Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and Alaska, these fighters can be punished by their athletic commissions for using a legal substance. But they can get drunk every night and never face punishment.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show.
Today in Behind the Headlines, we take a look at the country of Israel, where pain clinics there are refusing marijuana seekers. Now, Israel's been a world leader in medical marijuana, dating back to the discovery of THC in 1964 by Israeli researcher Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, all the way to today, where over 22,000 medical marijuana patients are currently registered with the government. They've got a cannabis permit from their health ministry. But now, pain clinics in Israel are under fire for not providing medical cannabis to patients that the clinics believe are faking their condition to acquire marijuana for recreational purposes. Now, the Association for Medical Cannabis Treatment in Israel is threatening to sue the clinics that refuse to offer medical cannabis. Karnit Yedid, the head of the AMCT, said, quote, "I speak to patients all day. Their pain is unbearable and they have no way to get medical cannabis treatment," end quote. In order to get this cannabis permit from the health ministry in Israel for chronic pain, a patient must undergo treatment at a registered pain clinic for a year and exhaust all other methods of pain control, including the use of addictive hepatotoxic opioid painkillers, as well as risky surgical procedures. Just getting the permit on an annual basis for the appointments and the treatment can cost well over the equivalent of $1,000 a year. Of those 22,000 registered medical marijuana patients in Israel, there are 7,350 who are registered for chronic pain. Unfortunately, the clinics maintain that as the gatekeeper for legal cannabis access, many of the clients seeking their services are merely going through the motions in order to get cannabis for personal purposes. Some of these clinics are just refusing to see any pain patients who express an interest in medical cannabis. Some have put large signs in their windows. Others have telephone messages or disclaimers on their paperwork that they will not make recommendations for cannabis. The clinics contend that they are so overwhelmed already with the current cannabis